This video will go over valid values, what they are, why they are important, where they come from, and how to request new ones. Valid values are codes that a database uses to represent data, such as a company, sampling type, or analytical method. They are used to standardize data entry, providing a common language for data users and generators. For example, instead of having each user type in the full name of a laboratory, having them choose the valid value that represents that laboratory avoids the possibility of inconsistent spellings or punctuation, typos, etc. In FUDSChem, valid values are used for every data table. If we go to Tools, Data Submission, and choose a data type, location definition for instance, and click Create a File, we'll see that the interface includes many drop-downs, each of which lists the valid values available for that field. For example, the Location Classification field, or LTC code, lists a number of valid values. The user can click the bottom of the drop-down where it says 10 out of the total number of options to see more, or type into the field to jump to a specific value. We can see that WL is the valid value denoting a well. Data that requires valid values will always have a drop-down showing the user which values are available. However, data can also be uploaded in a flat file. In this case, to determine if a valid value is required in a deliverable field, we will go to the Electronic Data Specification under Reports, ADR and Submission Reports, Electronic Data Specification, Fixed Width. By choosing the data type you are going to load, you can reference each field for whether a valid value is required, and view a definition of what data is loaded in that field. For this example, choose Location Definition and click View Report. Using the example of LTC code again, we can determine that the LTC code is used to describe the location where measurements and samples are taken. We can see the VVL column displays true, to denote that values entered into this field must be included in the valid value list. Valid value lists can be referenced under Reports, ADR and Submission Reports, Valid Value Lists. We will choose Location Definition like we did in the interface, and choose LTC code, then click View Report. The options listed here for LTC code are the same as the ones available in the interface dropdown we looked at earlier. We can go to page 2 of the report to see WL is the valid value denoting a well. This report can be exported to Excel by clicking on the floppy disk icon. The export can be used to populate flat files for data submission if the user prefers to submit a file rather than using the dropdowns in the interface. Valid values for analytes are also available in this report if you change the data table dropdown to a data type that reports analytes, such as SED 5.2. However, a special report is available just for analyte valid values. It is found under Reports, Chemistry Reports, Analyte Name Cross-Reference. The report will automatically run and displays Client Analyte ID, which is the valid value used for FUDSChem, as well as the analyte name and other ways to reference the analyte, such as the CAS number. Note that certain analytes may be known by more than one name. In the case of a synonym, the FUDS program has selected a preferred name, and only the preferred name will be available as a valid value. This prevents data for the same analyte being divided up between many different names. For example, in the report, if we search for methyl ethyl ketone in the search box at the top, a pop-up will tell us that the search text was not found. That is because methyl ethyl ketone is synonymous with 2-butanone. If we search for 2-butanone in the search box up at the top, we can see that it is available with the valid value MEK. If you cannot find a valid value for an analyte in this report, but do not know the synonym, it can be easier to search by CAS number to find out what the analyte is being called and which valid value is assigned to it. Let's search for xylene in the search box next. You can see that there are many different xylene options, including things like M-xylene, O-xylene, p-xylene, and total xylenes. If we were creating an equap and wanted to indicate that we were sampling for total xylenes, we'd need to be careful to choose the correct xylene option. Additionally, if we were submitting a custom PAL for our equap for something like xylenes, and chose a xylene option that didn't match our equap, the PAL wouldn't connect with that analyte because the valid values for each xylene option are different. We would need to update the custom PAL for consistency. Hydrocarbons are an even more expansive group and require similar care when making a selection. Some valid values fall into a hierarchy. For example, granular matrix values like surface water and groundwater would fall under the broader umbrella of the aqueous matrix medium. Our equap would identify that we're planning on running an analysis for the overarching matrix medium of aqueous samples, but our digital chain of custody or ChemField file would go into more detail on the matrix of each sample, whether it be surface water, groundwater, or something else. Sometimes you may go through a valid value list and not see the valid value that you need. New valid values can be added by your Synectics point of contact. For the sake of consistency, valid values must be vetted and approved before being added to FUDSChem. This ensures that there are not multiple values for the same item and that values being added are formatted properly. Additionally, at the end of a sampling event, the data in FUDSChem is transferred behind the core's firewall into their eChem database. Consistent valid values allow the information stored in the eChem database to be used easily by the core for years to come. To request that a valid value be added, provide your Synectics point of contact with as much detail as possible on the value. For example, the data table, such as location definition. The data type, for example, LTC code. A description of the item to be added. To expedite the addition, please include supporting information to assist someone who may not have detailed knowledge of the project, organization, or technique to review the suitability of adding the value. For example, if a valid value for a new company needs to be added, please include their address and website for ease of identification. If a method needs to be added, it is recommended to include the laboratory's name, standard operating procedure, or SOP, and a reference to any standard or published methodology. If a valid value already exists that will suit your needs, your Synectics point of contact can help direct you to it. If a valid value does not exist, your Synectics point of contact will work with the core to get a new valid value approved and added to the database. Don't forget to subscribe to the FUDSChem YouTube channel for more tutorial videos. All of the tutorials and playlists mentioned during this video are linked in the description below. Lastly, if you have questions or comments, feel free to contact us at fuds.support@synectics.net. Thank you.